All right, so killer bees,
Hmm.
Africanized honeybees, they get a lot of bad press, don't they?
They
A
do.
lot to unpack. So
Yeah.
let's dive in, huh?
Let's.
What's the real story with these bees? Everyone's heard of them. Everyone's kind of scared of them.
Right, right.
But what is it really all about?
Well, it's interesting. Their story starts in Brazil
Okay,
in the 1950s. Scientists there were looking to increase honey production.
makes sense.
And they thought, well,
Yeah,
African bees are really good in tropical climates.
right.
So let's bring some in and breed them with our European honeybees, and we'll get this perfect hybrid bee that produces a lot of honey.
Sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah, so not quite as planned.
Okay.
Some of those African honeybees escaped,
Wow.
and then they started breeding with the local European honeybees, and the result was this hybrid bee that had all this resilience and adaptability from the African bees.
All right.
But they also inherited their defensive nature.
So that's where the killer reputation comes from.
Exactly.
And we're not just talking Brazil anymore. These bees spread, right?
Right?
Through South America, Central America, even North America.
North America by the 1990s, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How do they adapt to so many different types of environments?
Well, that's one of the things that makes them so interesting. I mean, they can thrive in deserts, forests, even urban areas.
Wow.
I was reading a study about how they've adapted to life in cities.
Yeah.
They're building hives in like old tires, empty utility boxes, even in walls.
So we got to talk about the big question, right?
Yeah.
The aggression. Are they really as dangerous
Right.
as their reputation?
Well, it's important to be accurate here. Their venom is actually not any more potent than regular honeybees.
Okay.
So their defensive mechanism is different.
Okay.
So they release this alarm pheromone
Okay.
that's way more intense, I guess, than European honeybees, and it triggers a much faster response from the entire colony, and so that's
Yeah.
why they seem so aggressive.
So it's not that they're individually more dangerous, it's that there's more of them.
Yeah, there's more of them. They react faster, and they'll chase you further
Okay.
than other honeybees.
Well, that's still pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's why it's so important to understand their behavior and to take precautions.
So can you even tell them apart from regular honeybees?
It's really hard visually. I mean, the only way to be sure is to do genetic testing.
Oh, wow.
There is a size difference. Africanized bees are slightly smaller,
Right.
but, you don't want to be getting that close to find out.
Yeah, I'm not going to be breaking out a ruler.
No.
Okay, so besides the whole, stinging thing,
Right.
what about their impact on the environment?
Well, it's interesting because they're actually amazing pollinators.
Right.
Some studies even suggest they're better pollinators
Right.
than European honeybees. They visit a wider range of plants, they cover larger areas, and that's especially beneficial in areas that have a lot of different plant species.
So even though they can be aggressive, they're still really important for, helping ecosystems thrive.
Yeah, they can be, especially in areas where other bee populations are in decline. But there is a downside.
Yeah.
They can be so successful that they displace native pollinators
Oh, I see.
and other honeybee species.
Okay.
So it's a double-edged sword, really.
It's complicated.
It is.
So where do they like to build their hives, and how can we avoid, let's just say, conflict with them?
Well, they're very opportunistic. They'll build hives pretty much anywhere.
Like where?
Tree cavities, abandoned buildings, even underground. And this increases the chances of us
no.
bumping into them.
And nobody wants that.
No.
So what can we do?
Public awareness is really important. Knowing how to identify potential nesting sites, not disturbing hives if you find them, and understanding what to do if you encounter a swarm. And beekeepers also need to be really careful about how they manage their hives to prevent accidental releases.
So prevention is key.
Absolutely.
But how do beekeepers even manage these bees, given how, defensive they are?
It's definitely more challenging, and it requires specialized techniques and equipment. But their resilience, the same thing that makes them challenging, also makes them really interesting to researchers.
How so?
Well, they can tolerate extreme temperatures, they're resistant to certain pests and diseases, and they can survive in areas with fewer resources. So scientists are studying them to try to figure out how to make all honeybees more resilient.
So these killer bees, they might actually hold the key to helping all honeybees, especially with all the problems that bees are facing worldwide.
That's exactly right. They're a great example of how even creatures that have a bad reputation can actually provide valuable insights and solutions.
Okay, so to recap, Africanized honeybees, resilient. They're adaptable, amazing pollinators.
Mm,
But they're also fiercely defensive. So understanding them, respecting their space, and being aware of their benefits, that's what we've learned today.
yeah, and I think it leaves us with a really interesting question. Given all the challenges and the potential of these bees, could they actually be part of the solution to the decline in pollinator populations globally? Maybe it's time that we rethink our approach to beekeeping.
That is a really interesting question to consider.
Yeah.
So to all our listeners out there, think about that. And if you want to know more about these amazing creatures, we've got some resources for you in the show notes. Until next time, stay curious.
Bye.